when it comes to what it is that's behind this all, like you can't be 100% certain of what it is. Does that change the phenomena of what's taking place at all? I don't think that it does. I think if you're saying
anytime
these people...
you have the Heisenberg principle, observation changes it just by the act of observing.
No, but even so, like if it turns out, say for example, not to get all Fox Mulder on you, but if it's not aliens that are abducting these people, say it's the government, say they're running some sort of
lab abductions that go on,
experimentation on the human psyche, but does that change the fact that people are having these weird connections with each other when they're not in the all these things that you've told us about over the years? It still has a weirdness factor to it, even if the root cause of it is changed.
Never mind my own experiences when it's happening to other people, because my experience is not unique. Far from it. There's far more people that are making these connections and abduction experiences, meeting other people and then meeting them elsewhere. And, that number one takes it out of the, psychological aspect of things. There's two people sharing the same psychological thing. Well, that's even far more astounding and statistically unlikely than aliens. But I'll go with that. Okay.
That happens often.
But so do abductions. And how many stars are out there and things like that. But it's what are we going to accept? That's you're saying that we can only assume that it says because this is what we've labeled it so far, right?
Right.
Okay. That it could be something else. That could be applied to anything in life, not just anything paranormal. We're just making assumption that this is a red drink, right?
Right. But
are you sure?
Red to you is different than red to me.
Correct.
And we have no other way of describing it except red.
Right.
So,
unless you're colorblind, then it's brown.
But still, like, that is your red.
Yep.
So you don't know what red is. Like,
right.
there's.
But someone told you it was red.
Right.
Right. So there's no. See, the kind of the point of this that I'm getting to with a lot of this is that I'm saying that we've reached the point where we have gotten to the point where we have to say some of this stuff has to be true.
Right.
Like it can't be wrong. So we're trying to find the ways of looking at where it can be wrong, but we can't because we've already gotten to the point where we can.
But we're also.
I don't
want
to say prove
of regurgitation.
Right,
like we were just talking about.
But this is regurgitation within our own experience, though, too.
It could be, yeah.
But
it's also with what everybody else says. Society says, like someone told us that color was red, but why is it red?
Well, I'm talking in terms of the paranormal side of things. Like we've done enough to kind of prove this to ourselves to the point where, there's no. I don't want to say that you can't question it, but in some cases you really can't.
Mm-hmm.
In some cases you have to say this is the only conclusion that I'm left with. So,
the old dog comes razor.
But at the same time, like I can say that it's entirely plausible when I do what I do when it comes to investigating, because obviously it's different than what you do, Stephanie. But if, I can say that it's entirely possible that I am talking to myself in the dark, that I am,
Okay, what about when we're all sharing the same experience? We've all been in haunted places and had something happen. We all were witness to it. We all may view it a little different or heard things a little different, but we all experienced it.
But there is also the possibility that we are all influenced by each other as well. We like to think that we're above that.
When objects go flying, that's pretty much it's an indication that
let me put out a good example, okay? This is a question that came up because last week we were at Lizzie Borden's house, and what happens every time we go to Lizzie Borden's house? Somebody has their legs lifted,
right?
Yeah.
And somebody will take a photo of it or a video and put it out on social media, and immediately people will come out and attack it and be like, "Well, that doesn't mean anything. That doesn't show anything."
Right.
But when you're there and you're seeing it happen, and you realize the circumstances around it and the fact that nobody can keep their legs out like that for all that time, you start to realize, like, no, there's.
Yeah.
I mean, hell, it happened to myself, and I didn't believe in it at all.
But is it possible that it is not really happening? I mean, we have to really kind of break it down and say, is it possible? First factor is there's a huge level of the power of suggestion.
Right.
Because we tell
Absolutely.
them the story about what happens to other people. And so the people that lay down on that bed, for the most part, are laying on that bed with the hope or maybe even the expectation that it's going to happen to them.
How about like that experiment that you did with the tank down at the Military History Museum?
Oh, I don't want to talk about that.
No.
Okay.
No, I don't want to talk about that there. Not right now.
Okay.
But that is certainly along the lines of what we're talking about. I don't think I've revealed that yet.
No.
Which
I mean,
is-
I know, but
Right. That's why I don't want to talk about it yet.
Okay.
Because
we can.
Let's just say that's still an ongoing experiment.
Right.
Okay.
Yes, we can't reveal the secrets, but like the
I'm not ready to reveal the
no,
end
the
of the
point
case
being-
study on that yet.
Well, we've got
But I
we've got a lot of these little events that happen at these haunted places that we use as earmarks. Okay.
Right. And but let's just break it down simply to the leg lift. So they know that it's going to happen. But Moniz, you laid down on that bed knowing the story,
Yeah.
and you went into it with no expectation of it happening,
One way or another.
and you were not influenced by that story.
No.
And what happened. And you didn't have it happen.
Correct.
Stephanie, you...
But I still, I didn't have my legs lifted, but I swear to God, I felt little feet running around me on the bed. So, and
right. So you felt
that I
something,
felt, that I definitely felt. And I was the only one on the bed.
But you didn't feel anything grab your legs and lift it up.
No.
And Stephanie, you had that experience, but you also did not lay there
Right.
expecting it to happen.
No, I was kind of expecting to prove you wrong.
Also because you would be picking up on other
Right.
things
Yep.
that weren't happening.
But I also kind of mixed it with what I do too. You know, like communicating, like, okay, you know, if you are here, you know, kind of doing my own thing. And I wasn't expecting anything to come out of it. I just thought there's no way. I think I remember even asking you questions like, you know, is the floor slanted? You know, what's going on? And nobody can come up with any other explanation.
And that's, you know, as it was happening last week, that's one of the things that I talked about, is that I've spent years trying to figure out what else it could
Right.
possibly be. And instead, what ends up happening is each time, instead of getting closer to figuring out what else it could be, there's a curveball that's
Right.
thrown. But so just, and I'll get into that curveball in a minute, but in just that relative small experiment of will my legs be lifted or not be lifted, that so people can go into there expecting it to happen, and that can influence them in having it happen. They can also be completely convinced that it's crap, and therefore it won't happen, and it still may happen to them. But as we're sitting around there, I'm thinking to myself, could it be that we've put it into their minds that it will? Could it be that the collective energy of everybody in the room wants it to happen, so somehow it's all
You're
of
putting power
us
to it.
somehow making it happen?
Tulpering it.
And could it exactly? Could it be, or even not even that, not even to that extent? Could it just be, you know, some sort of telekinetic ability, where
Collective conscious
I was going to say,
telekinesis.
you know, you can relate that to people and the power of prayer and like positive, you know, energy
there
and
have been
different things like
scientific
that.
studies where they have shown that prayer or meditation on
Right.
particular things will affect things.
We have more power than we think we do.